I said it doesn't make any sense. The Geiger counter's been going on and off all morning.
A floating brain from outer space, a scientist possessed by pure evil, and a dog named George who saved the world by biting an alien in the medulla oblongata. The brain from Planet Arous wasn't just low-budget sci-fi, it was glorious chaos filmed in a cave, starring an actor who couldn't stop laughing at his own villain speeches, and featuring special effects held together with fishing line and prayer. These are 20 weird facts about the brain from Planet Arous. And buried in the madness, a prop brain that terrified children for decades, and a director who shot the entire film in 6 days because the money ran out. Lock your skulls. This invasion gets strange fast. Number 1. Before there was a script, there was just a title and a handshake deal. Producer Jacques Marquette walked into a Hollywood bar in 1956 with nothing but an idea, a brain from outer space that takes over people's minds. He had no writer, no director, no cast, just pure B-movie ambition and a belief that audiences would pay to see something this weird. He pitched it to Nathan Juran, a director known for working fast and cheap on films like The Deadly Mantis. Juran listened, ordered another drink, and said yes on one condition. They had to shoot it in under 2 weeks. Marquette agreed instantly, and they sealed the deal that night. Within 3 weeks, a screenplay was hammered out by Ray Buffett, an uncredited writer who specialized in quickie sci-fi scripts. The story was simple, almost skeletal. An evil alien brain named Gore possesses nuclear scientist Steve March, giving him godlike powers and murderous ambitions. A good brain named Vol arrives to stop him, possessing the family dog. That's it. No subplots, no character development, just possession, power, and a climax in a cave. The entire creative process, from bar napkin to final draft, took less than a month. And somehow, that reckless speed gave the film exactly what it needed: pure, unfiltered strangeness. Number 2. The star of the film, John Agar, didn't want to do it. He was a former A-list actor who'd been married to Shirley Temple and starred in John Ford westerns. But by 1957, his career had cratered due to alcohol problems and bad press. He was broke, bitter, and stuck doing B-movies just to survive. When his agent pitched him The Brain from Planet Arous, Agar reportedly laughed and said, "A brain? I'm supposed to fight a floating brain?" But the paycheck was decent, and he needed it desperately. So he said yes, showed up to set, and immediately regretted it. The script required him to play 2 versions of the same character, normal Steve March and Steve possessed by the megalomaniacal alien Agar. Agar struggled with the tonal shift, unsure how big to play the villain moments. Director Nathan Juran told him to go bigger, wilder, more unhinged. So Agar did. He bulged his eyes, cackled maniacally, leered at his co-star Joyce Meadows with exaggerated menace. Between takes, he'd shake his head and mutter to the crew, "This is career suicide." But audiences loved it. His over-the-top performance became the film's greatest asset, a campy villain turn that walked the line between terrifying and absurd. Years later, Agar admitted he had fun making it, even if he never understood why people kept asking him about the brain movie at conventions. Number 3. The prop brain itself was built in a garage by a special effects technician named Manuel Welch, who had exactly $200 and 3 days to pull it off. Welch had no formal training in creature effects. He'd worked mostly on miniatures and matte paintings, but Marquette hired him because he was cheap and desperate. Welch started with a wire frame, then layered it with papier-mâché, foam rubber, and paint. The brain had to look alive, pulsating, menacing. So Welch added veins made from red string, glued on googly eyes from a toy store, and installed a small motor inside to make it quiver. The final product weighed about 15 pounds and looked ridiculous up close. But under the right lighting and camera angles, it worked, sort of. The problem was mobility. The brain was supposed to float through scenes, hovering ominously. But there was no budget for complex rigging, so Welch improvised. He attached the brain to a long pole and had a crew member hold it just out of frame, moving it slowly while the camera rolled. In wider shots, they used fishing line to suspend it from the ceiling, but the line was visible in several takes. Juran didn't care. He knew audiences would forgive cheap effects if the story moved fast enough, and he was right. That homemade brain became iconic, appearing on posters, VHS covers, and eventually t-shirts. It looked fake, but it looked memorable, and in B-movie history, that's all that matters. Number 4. The entire film was shot in 6 days, not 6 weeks. 6 days. Nathan Juran had worked on tight schedules before, but this was extreme even by 1950s B-movie standards. The production couldn't afford a lengthy shoot, so Juran mapped out every scene in advance, blocking shots, planning coverage, eliminating anything unnecessary. He told the cast there would be no rehearsals, no second takes unless something went catastrophically wrong. John Agar later said it felt less like making a movie and more like performing a live play with cameras. They shot 15 to 20 pages a day, racing through dialogue, hitting marks, moving on. Joyce Meadows, who played Sally, Steve's fiancée, said she barely had time to memorize her lines. She'd read them minutes before each scene, deliver them, and move to the next setup. The crew worked in shifts, some sleeping in their cars between night shoots. Lighting was minimal. Costumes were street clothes, and the sets were whatever locations they could grab for free. Most of the interiors were filmed in an abandoned house in the San Fernando Valley. The exteriors, including the iconic cave sequences, were shot at Bronson Canyon, a popular filming location because it was free and looked vaguely alien. By day 6, everyone was exhausted, delirious, running on coffee and adrenaline. But Juran got his movie. Every scene, every angle, every floating brain shot. It wasn't polished, but it was done. And that's all the budget allowed. Number 5. The film's most infamous scene, where possessed Steve uses his alien powers to destroy a plane mid-flight, was achieved through stock footage and creative editing. There was no money for miniatures or explosions, so the production team raided the archives of old war films and newsreels, pulling clips of planes crashing, burning, spiraling out of control. They spliced these clips into the movie, cutting between John Agar staring intensely at the sky with glowing eyes and genuine World War II footage of aircraft disasters. It was seamless enough that most audiences didn't notice, and those who did didn't care. The scene gave the villain real menace, real power, and it cost practically nothing. But there was a problem. The footage they used came from public domain sources, meaning it was free, but it also meant other films had used the same clips. Sharp-eyed viewers who watched a lot of B-movies started recognizing the same plane crash appearing in multiple films, turning it into an inside joke among sci-fi fans. Despite this, the scene worked. It sold Agar's threat level, made the stakes feel global, and gave the film a sense of scale it couldn't afford to shoot. Years later, Nathan Juran admitted in an interview that half the movie was held together with borrowed footage, creative angles, and pure audacity. But he also said he was proud of it because it proved you didn't need money to tell a story. You just needed imagination and a willingness to fake it until you made it. Number 6. Joyce Meadows, the film's leading lady, was cast 3 days before shooting began. The original actress, whose name was never publicly released, dropped out at the last minute due to a scheduling conflict with a toothpaste commercial. Marquette panicked. He needed someone fast, someone who could deliver lines competently and didn't mind working for almost no money. A casting agent recommended Meadows, a young actress who'd done some television work but was largely unknown. She met with Juran on a Friday, read a few pages of the script, and was told to show up Monday morning ready to shoot. She didn't even have time to watch the films the movie was parodying. Meadows later admitted she had no idea what the tone was supposed to be. Was it serious sci-fi, campy horror, a thriller? She played it straight, delivering her lines with earnest concern, and that sincerity became the film's emotional anchor. While John Agar chewed scenery as the possessed villain, Meadows grounded the story, giving audiences someone to root for. She also had to film some of the movie's strangest moments, including a scene where she's leered at by Agar's glowing-eyed character in what was clearly meant to be sexually menacing. Meadows said it was deeply uncomfortable, especially since the script gave her almost no agency. But she committed to the role, treating it like serious drama even when the dialogue was absurd. Her performance didn't win awards, but it kept the film from collapsing into total camp. And for that, she deserves recognition.
Hello?
Number 7. The glowing eyes effect, one of the film's most memorable visuals, was achieved using a technique called rotoscoping, but not in the way you'd think. There was no computer animation in 1957, no digital compositing. Instead, the effects team hand-painted glowing eyes onto each frame of film where John Agar's possessed character appeared. It was painstaking, tedious work. An artist would take a frame, carefully paint over Agar's pupils with luminous white paint, let it dry, photograph it, and move to the next frame. This had to be done for every single frame where the effect appeared, sometimes dozens of shots per scene. The process took weeks, far longer than the actual filming, and the results were inconsistent. In some shots, the glow is bright and menacing. In others, it looks faint, almost invisible. In a few frames, the paint bled outside the lines, making Agar's eyes look lopsided or smudged. But again, audiences didn't notice or didn't care. The effect was unsettling enough to sell the possession, and that's all that mattered. What's wild is that this hand-painted technique was standard for low-budget sci-fi in the 1950s. Films like Invaders from Mars and Killers from Space used similar methods, but few did it as extensively as The Brain from Planet Arous. By the time the film hit theaters, the rotoscoping had cost more than the actual shoot, which Marquette reportedly found hilarious. Number 8. The dog. Oh, the dog. George the dog, played by an Airedale Terrier whose real name was Duke, became an unexpected breakout star. In the film, George is possessed by Vol, the good alien brain sent to stop gore. This means Duke had to play a dog acting like an alien pretending to be a dog, which is a lot to ask of an animal actor. Surprisingly, Duke nailed it. His trainer, a Hollywood veteran named Frank Weatherwax, worked with him for weeks before filming, teaching him specific behaviors, staring intently at other actors, moving with unnatural precision, tilting his head at odd angles. The result was genuinely eerie. When George watches the humans with Vol's intelligence, there's something uncanny about it. Something not quite right. It's a small detail, but it adds to the film's strangeness. What's even weirder is that Duke's performance was so effective. Letters started arriving at the studio, asking if the dog was okay, if he'd been hypnotized or drugged to achieve the effect. The answer was no. Duke was just a well-trained dog following commands, but his ability to seem otherworldly impressed everyone on set. Nathan Duran later joked that Duke gave the best performance in the movie, and while he was being sarcastic, there's some truth to it. In a film full of camp and cheese, Duke's alien dog act felt weirdly legitimate, and that's why people remember George decades later. Number 9. The cave where most of the film's climax takes place is Bronson Canyon, one of the most filmed locations in Hollywood history. If you've seen a Western, a sci-fi movie, or a TV show from the 1950s through the 1970s, you've probably seen this cave. It's been in everything from Invasion of the Body Snatchers to the 1960s Batman TV series. Filmmakers loved it because it was free, easily accessible, and looked otherworldly without any set dressing. For The Brain from Planet Arous, Duran used the cave as the alien brain's home base, a place where Steve March and Vol's host dog would eventually confront Gore. The problem was, the cave was tiny, barely big enough to fit a camera crew, actors, and lighting equipment. They had to shoot in tight angles, using close-ups and clever framing to make it look bigger than it was. They also had to deal with the elements. Bronson Canyon is outdoors, exposed to wind, dust, and unpredictable weather. During one night shoot, a sudden windstorm blew through, scattering equipment and nearly destroying the prop brain. The crew had to scramble, holding the brain down with sandbags while Duran yelled for the camera to keep rolling. That scene, with wind howling and dust swirling, made it into the final cut, and it looks appropriately dramatic. Unintentionally, nature gave the film something it couldn't afford: atmosphere. And that's pure B-movie magic. Number 10. The film's poster promised way more than the movie delivered, and that was entirely intentional. The artwork showed a giant brain looming over a city, zapping buildings with energy beams, while terrified crowds fled in panic. It looked like a big-budget disaster movie, something on the scale of War of the Worlds. In reality, the entire film takes place in a desert, a house, and a cave, with maybe a dozen extras. There are no city scenes, no mass destruction, no crowds. The poster was a complete lie, designed to lure audiences into theaters with the promise of spectacle the film never intended to deliver. And it worked. People bought tickets expecting epic sci-fi chaos, and got a small, strange story about possession and a heroic dog. Some felt cheated, but many were charmed by the film's unpretentious weirdness. This bait-and-switch marketing was standard practice for B-movies in the 1950s, but few films were as brazen about it as The Brain from Planet Arous. Marquette later admitted he spent more money on the poster than on some of the film's special effects, and he considered it money well spent because the poster sold tickets, and tickets were all that mattered. The art became iconic, appearing in retrospectives, video releases, and even museum exhibits on vintage movie posters. It's a reminder that sometimes the dream of a movie is more powerful than the movie itself. Number 11. John Agar couldn't stop laughing during his villain monologues, and it nearly derailed production. The script required him to deliver grandiose speeches about world domination, nuclear power, and the superiority of his alien intellect. Lines like, "I have the power to destroy nations," were meant to be menacing, but Agar found them hilarious. Between takes, he'd crack up, sometimes mid-sentence, unable to keep a straight face. Nathan Duran grew increasingly frustrated, yelling, "Cut!" over and over as Agar dissolved into giggles. The problem was the dialogue. It was so earnest, so overwritten, that delivering it seriously felt absurd. Joyce Meadows later said, watching Agar try to compose himself was the funniest part of the entire shoot. Eventually, Duran found a solution. He told Agar to channel genuine anger, to think of something that made him furious in real life. Agar thought about his failed marriage, his destroyed career, the tabloids that mocked him. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. The next take was intense, genuinely unsettling. Agar delivered those ridiculous lines with real menace, and it transformed the character. What could have been camp became something darker, more disturbing. That anger, that bitterness, it bled through the performance. And it's why Agar's possessed villain still feels dangerous today. Number 12. The film's musical score was composed in 2 days by Walter Green, a journeyman composer who specialized in quick turnaround B-movie soundtracks. Green had no time to create anything original, so he recycled themes from his previous work, splicing together cues from other sci-fi films he'd scored. Sharp-eared viewers noticed that some musical stings in The Brain from Planet Arous are identical to moments in The Deadly Mantis and The Black Scorpion, both films Green had worked on earlier. But Green also added something new: a theremin. The electronic instrument, famous for its eerie wailing sound, became synonymous with 1950s sci-fi after its use in The Day the Earth Stood Still. Green used it sparingly, mostly during the brain's floating scenes, giving those moments an otherworldly quality. The theremin cues were performed live by Dr. Samuel Hoffman, a session musician who played on dozens of sci-fi soundtracks. Hoffman recorded his parts in a single afternoon, improvising most of the melodies based on Green's rough directions. The result was a score that felt both familiar and unsettling, recycled yet effective. Green never won awards for his work, but his music became the sonic signature of an entire genre, proving that even the smallest details matter. Number 13. The film's original ending was darker, weirder, and completely unfilmable on the budget they had. In Ray Buffum's first draft, after Gore is defeated, Vol reveals that he too must leave Earth, but not before warning humanity that thousands of other alien brains are watching, waiting. The script ended with Steve and Sally looking up at the stars, realizing they were never safe, that the invasion could start again at any moment. It was bleak, paranoid, perfectly in line with Cold War anxieties, but Marquette hated it. He wanted something upbeat, something that sent audiences home smiling. So the ending was rewritten overnight. Now, after Gore's defeat, Vol simply leaves, George the dog returns to normal, and Steve and Sally kiss while cheerful music plays. It's abrupt, almost anticlimactic, but it's happy. Duran later admitted he preferred the original ending, but the studio wanted reassurance, not dread. Interestingly, the darker ending leaked to fans through sci-fi magazines of the era, and for years, people debated whether a director's cut existed somewhere with the alternate finale. It doesn't. That ending was never shot, existing only on paper, a ghost of what might have been. Number 14. The glowing brain effect during Gore's dialogue scenes was achieved using a combination of backlighting and animation. but the animation was so crude, it's almost invisible today. When Gore speaks telepathically to Steve, the brain is supposed to pulse with light in rhythm with the voice. To create this, the effects team projected light through the prop brain from behind, while an animator drew glowing outlines frame by frame. The problem was synchronization. The brain's pulsing rarely matched the dialogue timing, creating a disconnect that looks unintentionally comedic. In some scenes, the brain glows before Gore starts speaking. In others, it keeps glowing long after the voice stops. Test audiences apparently found this confusing, asking why the brain was broken, but there was no time or money to fix it. Duran told Marquette, "The brain glows, people get it. We move on." And they did. Decades later, film historians analyzed the effect and realized how ambitious it was for the time and budget. Few B-movies attempted synchronized animated effects, and even fewer pulled them off. The brain from Planet Arous tried and mostly failed, but the ambition alone deserves credit. Number 15. Halfway through filming, the prop brain went missing. Someone had left it in an unlocked van overnight, and by morning, it was gone. The crew panicked. Without the brain, there was no movie. They searched the lot, questioned locals, filed a police report. Nothing. Duran was ready to shut down production when, 2 days later, the brain reappeared exactly where it had vanished, sitting in the van like nothing happened. To this day, no one knows who took it or why. Some crew members joke that Gore himself had possessed someone to steal his own prop. Others suspected a prank by a rival production. The most likely explanation is that a homeless person grabbed it for shelter, realized it was worthless, and returned it. But the mystery stuck. Years later, John Agar told interviewers he believed the brain was genuinely haunted, that strange things happened whenever it was around. He claimed crew members heard whispers near it, saw shadows move when it was in frame. Most dismissed this as Agar being dramatic, but Joyce Meadows confirmed that the set had an odd atmosphere, something she couldn't quite explain. Whether haunted or not, the brain's disappearance became part of the film's legend. Number 16. The film was released as a double feature with Teenage Monster, another low-budget sci-fi film, and the pairing was hilariously mismatched. Teenage Monster was a Western horror hybrid about a boy transformed into a creature after a meteor strike. It was slow, ponderous, barely sci-fi at all. The brain from Planet Arous, meanwhile, was pure alien invasion chaos. Audiences who came for one film were baffled by the other. Some theaters reported people walking out during Teenage Monster, then sneaking back in for the second screening of Brain. The double feature strategy was common in the 1950s, a way to fill an evening and justify ticket prices, but it rarely made artistic sense. Marquette later admitted he had no say in the pairing, that distribution companies bundled films arbitrarily based on availability, not quality or theme. Still, the combination worked financially. Together, the films made enough money to be considered a modest success, and both gained cult followings in later decades. But at the time, critics savaged the double bill, with one reviewer writing, "Two terrible films do not make one good evening." Number 17. The special effects for Vol, the good brain, were even cheaper than Gore's. The production couldn't afford to build a second prop brain, so they reused the same one. It just filmed from different angles and lit differently. Vol was supposed to look softer, more benevolent, so they draped it in blue light instead of red. That's it. Same prop, different color. Audiences didn't notice because Vol only appears in a few scenes, mostly possessing the dog, but it created continuity headaches. In one scene, you can see that Vol has the same distinctive vein pattern as Gore, the same googly eyes. The brains are supposed to be mortal enemies from different factions, but they're literally identical. When fans eventually noticed this on home video releases, it became a running joke. Some claimed it was intentional, that the brains were twins, separated by ideology rather than biology. Others just laughed at the cheapness. Either way, it's a perfect example of B-movie resourcefulness. Why build two props when you can light one prop two ways? Number 18. The film's climax, where George the dog bites Gore in a specific spot to kill him, was based on actual neuroscience, sort of. The script specifies that Vol instructs the dog to bite the medulla oblongata, the part of the brain that controls vital functions. Destroy it, and the brain dies. This detail came from Ray Buffum's research at the Los Angeles Public Library, where he spent a single afternoon reading anatomy books. He wanted the science to feel plausible, even in a movie about flying alien brains. The problem was explaining this to Duke, the dog actor. Frank Weatherwax had to train Duke to bite the prop brain at a specific angle, consistently, take after take. It took days of rehearsal, with treats and encouragement. When they finally shot the scene, Duke nailed it in one take, biting the exact spot marked on the prop. The crew erupted in applause. Nathan Duran called it the most professional moment of the entire production. And bizarrely, the medulla oblongata detail stuck with audiences. Teachers reported students asking about it in biology classes. The film, in its own weird way, taught people actual anatomy.
Don't seek. Steve!
Number 19. After the film's release, John Agar received fan mail from children having nightmares about the brain. Parents wrote angry letters demanding the film be pulled from theaters, claiming it was too frightening for young audiences. Some theaters responded by restricting admission to teenagers and adults only, even though there was no official rating system yet. Agar reportedly felt guilty about this, telling friends he never intended to traumatize kids, but Nathan Duran saw it differently. He said if children were scared, the film had done its job. Horror and sci-fi were supposed to unsettle, to make you feel something primal. The controversy actually boosted ticket sales, as curious audiences wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Years later, those same children, now adults, wrote to Agar again, thanking him for the nightmares, saying the brain from Planet Arous had sparked their love of science fiction. Agar kept those letters for the rest of his life. Number 20. The Brain from Planet Arous wasn't just a one-time theatrical release. It became a staple of late-night television throughout the 1960s and 70s, playing on creature feature shows across America. Hosts like Zachary and Elvira introduced it to new generations, often mocking its low budget and silly premise. But the mockery came from affection, not contempt. The film's earnestness, its refusal to wink at the camera, made it perfect for this kind of presentation. Audiences could laugh at it while still enjoying the story. This constant television exposure gave The Brain from Planet Arous something theatrical films rarely achieve: immortality. It never left public consciousness, never faded into obscurity. Kids who watched it on grainy black and white TV as us grew up to become filmmakers, writers, and artists who referenced it in their own work. The film's influence can be seen in everything from The X-Files to Rick and Morty, proof that even the cheapest B-movie can echo through decades if it's weird enough to remember.
Colonel, I understand you have a lot of brass out here for the test today.
We have. We also have...
Bonus fact: the original prop brain survived for decades, passed between collectors, appearing at conventions and memorabilia shows. In 2003, it was auctioned on eBay with an estimated value of $500 to $1,000. It sold for $8,600. The buyer, a sci-fi superfan from Oregon, displayed it in a custom-built case in his home theater, lit from within just like the film. He told reporters that owning the brain felt like owning a piece of history, a tangible connection to the golden age of imaginative, resourceful filmmaking. But here's the twist. In 2011, another prop brain surfaced, also claiming to be the original. Then another in 2015. Turns out, Manuel Welch, the effects technician, had built 3 backup brains during production, just in case the main one broke. All 3 survived, scattered to different collectors. So, now there are multiple original brains from Planet Arous floating around, which feels weirdly appropriate for a movie about alien duplicates. And maybe that's the perfect ending for this strange, scrappy, unforgettable film. Even the props refuse to stay dead.